other thing before I kind of jump into the thing that's on your handout here. After working with executives in all of these different kinds of fields and industries, and it doesn't even matter what their business is, I started to realize that there was something that I started to call the differentiation factor in terms of really effective, successful leaders and those who were struggling. And I wrote an article about it for the American Management Association magazine that came out last year, and it's called The Differentiation Factor. And so here's what I noticed. There's two main things that differentiate these really effective, strong leaders from those who are struggling. The first thing is that strong leaders clearly articulate their visions, and they know how to get people to follow them. Now, this might sound like a sort of duh statement, right? Like, well, of course. But think about this. How many of you have ever worked for a boss, a manager, or a leader, and you had no idea where you were going? Or you didn't know what was expected of you. You didn't know what success looked like, so it was just like you were just giving it your best shot. Anybody have a leader or manager like that? Okay. And it's really dangerous if they're heading up the whole company. Okay? I worked with a client last year, and she has a successful business, 18 years in the running, successful meaning profitable. And when she contacted me, her business was down $1 million in sales. She had just fired her sales manager, who had decided that while she was by her husband's hospital bed, they didn't even know if the guy was going to live or die, the sales manager reorganized the company. Yeah. So when she came back to work, she fired the sales manager. And so, and it was funny, because when she called me, she said, I'm going through a little bit of transition, and I was hoping you might be able to come and talk to me. So to say that the trust factor and morale was low would be putting it lightly. Okay? It was really, really tough. And so one of the things we began to work on was this clearly articulating your vision. She said, my business has been successful for 18 years. I said, it doesn't matter. You're the one who's steering the ship. You have to tell them where you're going. And the funny thing was, things got a lot better. They rebounded. She has new people on board, new energy, new excitement. And so I just work with her every once in a while now. And she called me a couple months ago and said, I don't understand, Libby. We spent all last year, creating this infrastructure around vision, mission, values, and what we're going to do, and aligning everybody's job, and yada, yada, yada. And so the other day we were at a meeting, and one of my employees said, could you just tell us a little bit about where, what's the outlook for the company? Where are we going? And she said, I answered, and I was patient, and I was diplomatic, but inside I was thinking, we just talked about this. And I laughed and said, you know what? Welcome to the club, because you got to carry the flag. You don't get to say it once. You get to say it over and over and over again, right? Because you got to clearly articulate the vision and get people to follow you. Now, to get people to follow you is about having effective influencing skills. And when you're really good at influencing, you can get people to follow you and do what you need them or want them to do while increasing trust and decreasing defensiveness. So if I were going to suggest that you write something down, that would be one of the things you would write down. Okay? When you're really good at influencing with integrity, you get people to do what you want or need them to do while increasing trust and decreasing defensiveness. Because if you get people to do what you need them to do and they get defensive, it's manipulation. There's a big difference between influencing with integrity and manipulation. Okay? So, differentiation factor, clearly articulating your vision, getting people to follow, and the second thing that differentiates great leaders from those who are struggling is the ability to quickly and respectfully confront issues. Quickly and respectfully confront issues. One of the things that I do, for my work and for my clients and to keep updated is I regularly review leadership and business books for a couple of different editors. And one of the ones I read recently, and it's not even a new book, but I don't remember why I was reading it recently. But anyway, the book was called Execution. Now, I know I started out with the bulletproof vest things. We're not talking about the same execution, okay? But this was the gap between, some of you may have read this, but the gap between developing a strategy and vision and actually implementing it. So like some companies, some organizations have great, they have great strategy, great vision, doesn't get done, sits on the shelf, right? And so one of the things that they said in this book that I think is really important, and it goes along with this differentiation factor, is that one of the reasons why organizations may have very strong vision, good strategy, but it doesn't happen is because the leader lacks emotional fortitude. And emotional fortitude is about making those difficult decisions, confronting issues when you have to, not only caring about the people, but caring about the health of the company. I mean, it's carrying all those responsibilities at once, but then having the emotional fortitude to make the right decisions, to deal with issues, to have humility, all of those things. So the thing about effective confrontation is that all you have to do is say the word and everybody gets upset, right? Nobody wants to be described as confrontational. It's a negative connotation. Well, one of the things that I do when I'm working with leaders is I have them redefine that word. If you look just at the root of the word, confront, it really means to come face to face. Okay? And so when we confront issues respectfully, we come face to face, respectfully, to resolve an issue, to ask for a new behavior or behavior change. And, usually people are on one end of the spectrum or another. Either they will tell you they would do anything to avoid confrontation, and it's because they're confusing confrontation with conflict. They think it's going to be a fight or it's going to be uncomfortable, somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to get angry, so they just avoid it. Or they do it poorly. And it's highly emotional, it's full of blaming, it alienates people and damages relationships. And so one of the reasons why leaders, and I would say no matter who you are, what role you're in, the ability to effectively confront is a quality of life issue. It's not just a business issue. Being able to ask for what you want is really